Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. We'll be talking everything Denver sports and beyond. Please like and subscribe if you are a sports fan like me. Let's do this.
Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. Now, the Denver Broncos completed their second preseason game at home, their only preseason game in Denver against the Arizona Cardinals this last Saturday. The Denver Broncos dominated the game. The important players for the Denver Broncos moving forward this year did not play much other than R.J. Harvey, and we'll get to him in a little bit. So it was a good way to see where the Broncos are in terms of lower half of the roster and their depth at various positions, of which some shine quite well. So overall, a good showing. Again, this is preseason. These are backup players. These are vanilla schemes. This is mostly to see if you have dudes or not. Who are your dudes? Because basically it's man on man. It's running simple concepts. Can guys understand the playbook, getting in and out of the huddle effectively? And we saw that. And it was good to see from the Broncos, basically, that all the things that Sean Payton has instituted for this team in the last few years have taken hold. There is a system in place that makes sense, that's communicated not only from the top of the roster all the way to the bottom of the roster. There are expectations as to what is expected of you, even if you are not a starter on this team. And that's important. It's important for football culture. And it helps basically you understand exactly who you have on this team and who you don't. And overall for the Broncos, they're looking pretty good. Again, final results do not matter. I am going to say it until I am blue in the face. The 2008 Detroit Lions went 4-0 in the preseason and proceeded to go 0-16 in the regular season. That same year, the New England Patriots went 0-4 with all 4 blowout losses in the preseason. And this is when preseason actually mattered a little bit. And the New England Patriots went on to go 16-0 and lose the Super Bowl ultimately to the New York Giants, but were within 2 plays of going for a perfect record and 16-0. So don't look at the final scores. Don't look at the final scores. The final scores do not matter. The effort and the execution do matter, but the final scores are irrelevant. And speaking of final scores, we're going to get into a few of the highlights and good showings the Denver Broncos had in this preseason win against the Arizona Cardinals right now. The Denver Broncos started the game with a nice offensive drive from Jarrett Stidham. Really the highlight of the entire drive was a long pass play to Evan Ingram, a free agent signing over the offseason, hoping to bolster the pathetic tight end production that the Denver Broncos have had for honestly close to a decade at this point. But Evan Ingram looked fantastic. He actually reminded me of the dominant player at Alabama, who spent some time with the New York Giants and subsequent in Jacksonville, 2 teams that have not been very well run and certainly not anything good at the quarterback position at either of those spots. So it's good to see a guy like that get an opportunity, even with a backup quarterback, to really shine. Broncos offense looked crisp, looked good. Jarrett Stidham definitely played well. I'm glad that he's on this team as far as a backup player. Now, to say this, Jarrett Stidham apparently was quite upset and thought that he had a legitimate shot last year at being the Denver Broncos starter, despite Burnix being picked in the first round. That's just a player being competitive. Now, I understand that all these guys are ultra competitive. That's the only way they get to the NFL. And I have tremendous respect for anyone who even suits up for a single preseason game in the NFL. But Jarrett Stidham is not going to play much for this Denver Bronco team unless Burnix is hurt. And I don't wish that upon Burnix whatsoever. Obviously, injuries happen, but we do not have a quarterback controversy here. Don't be confused. This is Jarrett Stidham playing against 2s and 3s of the Arizona Cardinals, who are not a great team anyway. Okay? Yes, he should look, given his time in the league and the money he's making as the backup quarterback, he should shine against guys who are basically trying to make the Arizona Cardinal roster. So not taking anything away from Jared Stidham, but if he has illusions of being the starting quarterback outside of injury this season for the Denver Broncos, stop right now. I'm not listening to that. Bo Nix is the starter unless he is hurt. And that's where the Denver Broncos are going. They're not going the Jared Stidham route. Now, if some other team were to offer Jared Stidham and give the Broncos, say, a first or second round pick, if a team is desperate for a bridgeline starter and somebody gets hurt, I'm all ears for that. But the notion that Jared Stidham playing well against Arizona 2s and 3s and being a viable starter for the Denver Broncos in 2025, that is not going to happen. At the previous game against the 49ers, R.J. Harvey was bouncing outside quite a bit, looked a little lost. Probably, actually, I can guarantee you, a little bit nervous for his first NFL preseason game. And he was going back to what he knows best, which is bouncing outside and trying to outrun guys. Unfortunately, this is the NFL where, yes, you can do that occasionally, but that cannot be your bread and butter. As a running back, you need to be running through the tackle, use the scheme that the coaches have come up with, and basically hit the hole as a running back. And R.J. Harvey did that. He looked a lot better, probably a lot less nervous this game. Probably sat down with Sean Payton and his position coach and said, "Look, young man, this is what you need you to do for this team is, evolve from what you did in high school and college, and we will set up you for success and run through the tackles." And he did that. And first touchdown drive looked great. He made a couple guys miss, ran in the scheme, which actually wasn't even created that big a hole, but he made something out of nothing. And R.J. Harvey's looking good. J.K. Dobbins did not play in this game. I don't need J.K. Dobbins to play in any preseason game. He's a veteran player. But the Broncos running back room is certainly looking improved between J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, combined with Blake Watson, who refuses to go away, had 10 carries, 34 yards, but looked solid. Audric Estime, I'm not sure. He would be kind of on the fence for me because I kind of like Tyler Bidet. Tyler Bidet had a nice little run with the Broncos over a couple of games before he got injured. And I don't think the Broncos they're definitely not keeping 5 running backs. My guess is 4, your 2 main running backs being the rookie, R.J. Harvey, and J.K. Dobbins, followed by Blake Watson. Liam McLaughlin, not sure. And I think Audric Estime, not sure. It'll be interesting to see. The Broncos are going to have some tough roster cuts coming up in about a week and a half. And the running back total will be an interesting one to look at once the final roster decisions are made. One of the more laughable national stories last year was that the Broncos had the 31st ranked basically overall roster in the NFL last year, which was preposterous when it came out. It looks even stupider now. However, a fair criticism of the Broncos is that they don't truly have an elite number 1 all-time great at wide receiver. And that's fair. However, 2 players, Pat Bryant, who is a rookie, and Troy Franklin, who showed flashes last year but had a underwhelming rookie season. Those are the 2 guys to watch. I recall watching this Bronco team years ago when a 4th round pick who fell to the 4th round due to off-field issues managed to become a amazing player for the Broncos, and no one was quite sure what he was be or not to be, and that was Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall was a 4th round pick, and the Broncos kept saying, "We really think this guy can be a number 1. We really think this guy can be number 1." No one was quite sure what he was going to be. And Brandon Marshall ended up being an amazing player. Granted, I was a little sad to see him not be around for the Super Bowl run with Peyton Manning, but that's a whole other deal. So Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin. I'm not sure either one. Actually, I know for sure that neither one is a finished product. I'm not entirely sure that either one can be a bona fide number 1 receiver. But I like the idea of having 1A and 1B, even though I understand Cortland Sutton got paid and Cortland Sutton is still a very good player for this team and will be a very good player for this team. But if you're telling me that in 3 to 4 years, Pat Bryant, who looked very good in this game, is a bona fide number one, I'd believe it. I'd believe it. Certainly has the talent, played at a big school at Clemson, got stuck behind. Clemson's had a weird couple years with Dabo Swinney, where their quarterback has been awful. They weren't doing any transfers. So he kind of came, his numbers in college kind of dipped, and I don't think that's necessarily his fault. Clemson was not at the level that they were 5 or 6 years ago in the last 2 years. And so I'm looking for Pat Bryant to just maybe be a Brandon Marshall type where you're not quite sure what you have, you see the talent, and then all of a sudden you're good to go for a number one wide receiver. Denver Broncos look forward to their final preseason game in New Orleans against Sean Payton's former team in New Orleans against the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints are projected, and certainly I will be putting a little bit of money on the New Orleans Saints being possibly the worst team in the NFL. They're very top heavy. Somehow their roster is probably, I think, the 4th or 5th most expensive in the league, but don't be confused. The New Orleans Saints are not a good team. And so this is a glorified tryout. This is part of the process of seeing where lower roster guys are. It's not necessarily a good product to consume for the casual fan or really for anybody who follows football, as these games are essentially glorified tryouts. But here we are. And the Broncos are going to have to make some tough decisions. I'll be interested to see who plays, who doesn't play, how much playing time they get. There's not a ton more to glean from a third preseason game unless one of the younger players, Audric Estime comes to mind, has some sort of breakout game at a skill position, and all of a sudden maybe he moves himself more secure to make the team. But regardless, it's hard to believe we're almost here for the Broncos regular season opener against the Tennessee Titans. And then they have to play the Indianapolis Colts, who just announced that Danny Dimes will be their starting quarterback when the Broncos head to Indy for week 2. I'm eagerly anticipating the Broncos defense devouring Danny Dimes with at least one pick six. I'll call it right now. At least one pick six for Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm feeling a lot more confident about this Bronco team, especially because the defense, even if the offense is going to be a work in progress for the first month of the season, the defense will be incredible for this Bronco team. And they have not suffered any, knock on wood, no devastating defensive injuries. Everyone should be fresh, ready to go. There's no need to play any defensive important players in this game against the Saints. And I'm looking forward to kicking off the regular season at home for the Denver Broncos against a rookie quarterback and the Tennessee Titans. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. My name is Andrew Sharp, Sharp Sports YouTube podcast, and it's almost time. Football season will be fast approaching, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.